welcome back. My name is Shermaine Joseph Banwell. I'm a teacher of English at the Girls High School, and we're continuing on in a series of videos that is explaining the multiple choice of the CSEC examination. Today we're going to be looking at equivalent sentences. Equivalent sentences are structured that are testing a number of your language skills, mainly your summarizing and paraphrasing skills. Now, summarizing and paraphrasing is simply your ability to understand what is being said in a sentence and conveying that in a different way without changing the original meaning that is in the original sentence. So let's look for today's lesson, what we're expected to learn by the end of this video. You're supposed to understand the format of the equivalent sentence. You're also to know the skills that are being tested, and you're gonna be able to choose the correct option in the examination. Now, just for your own benefit, I'll explain why understanding the skill being tested is very important. Now, when we're doing our multiple choice questions and we simply randomly choose options, we're not fully aware or we're not fully convinced of why something is wrong and why something else is right. If you understand the skill that is being tested in each section of the examination, you're better able to focus on the common errors or the common structures that can mislead you into choosing the incorrect option. So please pay attention to the skills that are being tested in each of your multiple choice sections when you're attempting the examination. So let's look at today's lesson. Construction shift. For the construction shift, you're giving one original sentence. That is the question. You're given 4 options. One of those options are correct, and the other 3 are what we call distractors. They contain common errors that will mislead you into choosing an incorrect answer if you do not read properly, if you misinterpret, or you make one of these simple mistakes. Let's look at the skills. It's testing your ability to know how meanings of words can change the original meaning, how the arrangement of subjects and modifiers and how words come in sequence, whether logically or chronologically, can change the original meaning. It's also looking at qualifiers, how those simple little verbs like very, extremely, never, always, frequently, and so forth can change the original meaning of the sentence. 4, generalizations. Now, generalizations pertain to your inference that you gather from the original meaning. Now, in your reading, you may read something, gather information, and have your own opinion on what is being said. For this section, we're not asking you to add, omit, change, or improve anything that is said in the original. You're simply supposed to restate what is said or choose an option that restates what is said without changing, adding, improving, correcting, altering in any form or fashion what is said in the original. And lastly, punctuation. Now, although punctuation may come under grammar, it still affects the meaning of a sentence. Let's say, for example, you have, I bought peanut butter and a jelly at the supermarket. Do you know that that simple Oxford comma after and can change the entire meaning of your sentence? So let's look at that, for example. I know I'm jumping ahead, but I need for you to understand that although grammar is something that is being tested differently, punctuation has a very key role to play in how words are interpreted. So, I bought peanut butter, comma, and jelly at the supermarket. Here we have what we refer to as the Oxford comma. This comma may look incorrect because you have this conjunction here. But let's look at what happens if we remove the comma. We now have one item, peanut butter and jelly. Now, I know some of you may know those Smucker's jelly jams that come together where you have 1 streak of peanut butter, 1 streak of jelly. 1 streak of peanut butter and 1 streak of jelly. This isn't what was conveyed in the original. You didn't buy 1 item, you actually bought 2 items. So that simple comma there changes the entire meaning of the sentence. And we look at how these punctuation errors are very common when choosing options for your equivalent sentences. If you look on your screen, you will see the options that are being presented. Let's go through them one by one. Number 1. In recent research, it was found that people who ate breakfast regularly had a 20% chance of living longer than those who did not. Now, generalizations. Please note that although there's factual information, or there may not be factual information or accurate information in this sentence, you are not allowed to alter, change, give your own opinion or inference in the sentence. We are looking for the meaning. A. Recent research confirms that people who eat breakfast have a 20% chance of living longer than those who do not. Let's look at the other options, because in this section we need to read each question or each sentence carefully to understand. B. According to recent research, 20% of the people who ate breakfast lived longer than those who didn't. Let's look at what is being conveyed in this sentence. Now it says, the recent research, 20% of the people who ate breakfast. What is missing in this option? Our modifier. That word regularly there means that you eat breakfast more often than not. Now, everyone eats breakfast at some point in time, but what is being conveyed in the original is the frequency in which you eat breakfast. So that's what we're looking for carefully. One recent study concluded that among the participants, those who ate breakfast regularly had 20% chance of living longer than the others. This looks like it has all of the options that we're looking for. But just to be certain, let's look at the other option, D. Based on current research, it is clear that 20% of the participants have a greater chance of living longer than the remaining participants because they did not regularly have breakfast. Now, this is exaggerating what is stated in the original. Based on current research, it is clear that was not stated. That level of confidence that was not stated in the original can skew your interpretation or the reader's interpretation of what is said. So the option that clearly states exactly what is being said in the original without exaggerating or omitting anything is option option C. One recent study concluded that among the participants, those who ate breakfast regularly had a 20% chance of living longer than the others. So let's look at the second sentence. Some addictions, such as alcohol, tobacco, and hard drugs, can be extremely difficult to break and so should be avoided at all costs. That's the original. Let's take a minute and reread that sentence. Now let's look at the options. Remember, rereading for understanding is very important in this section. Addiction to alcohol, tobacco, and hard drugs is very easy and should not be taken lightly at any time. No, nowhere in the original sentence was the understanding of how easily it is to become addicted to a drug taken lightly, or even inferred to have been taken lightly. So this is not the option. B. It is extremely difficult to avoid addiction to alcohol, tobacco, and hard drugs, so the best situation is to not start. Although this may seem like a viable answer, we have to look at it is extremely difficult to avoid addiction. This is not what was conveyed in the original. It is easy to avoid addiction, and this is what the original was saying. So if you do not start, you avoid it. so it's not extremely difficult. This is misconstruing what is being said in the original. C. Breaking addiction to alcohol, tobacco, and hard drugs can be very costly, so the best advice is to avoid them entirely. Nowhere in the original was cost or expense expressed. This sentence is adding to what is being said. As it is usually very difficult to break addiction to substances such as alcohol, tobacco, and hard drugs, the advice is to avoid them entirely. This seems like the most viable option that conveys exactly what is said in the manner in which it is said in the original. It does not add, omit, or misinterpret what is being said. Let's look at number 3. More than 2/3 of the human beings in the world, in the third world, which is underdeveloped countries, suffer from semi-starvation. Please reread, and I'll give you some time to decipher what is being said. Let's look at the options. We read each option individually, and then we'll follow through as a group, and we will see how well you're getting a hang of this. The option A reads, nearly 2/3 of the world is underdeveloped and therefore short of food. B, most underdeveloped countries are unable to provide enough food to support their populations. C, over 2/3 of the population living in the underdeveloped world is inadequately fed. D, approximately 2/3 of the third world's population dies from malnutrition. If we look at option 1, there is no mention of the ability or availability of food. So therefore, this option is inferring that because people are starving, food is inaccessible. But this is not what people are stating in the original. B, in this option, there is nothing that says that the countries are unable to provide enough food to support the population. It simply says that parts of the population are starving or in semi-starvation. This is also adding information to the original. Option C, it expresses that 2/3 of the population, it expresses that they're targeting the underdeveloped countries, and it is also stating that semi-starvation expresses inadequately being able to eat. So inadequately fed could be synonymous for semi-starvation. It does not suggest total starvation, but rather a partial inaccessibility of food, which we can see is equivalent to the word inadequately. D, approximately 2/3 of the world population dies from malnutrition. This is a gross exaggeration of what is being said in the original. So the most viable option is C. Did you choose C? If you didn't, that's okay, because this is a learning process, and by making mistakes, we are able to learn. So let's look at number 4, and we'll see whether or not you're getting a hang of this. The term prehistory refers to the long period after the appearance of humans on the earth, but before the invention of writing. So you will go ahead, take some time, read the options, and let's see how quick you are. A, prehistory is defined as that long period between the appearance of the first person on earth and the spread of writing. B, prehistory is that extended time between the first appearance of human beings on this earth and the invention of writing. C, the word prehistory is that extended time between the first appearance of human beings on this earth and the invention of writing. D, the term prehistory covers that period of time after humans started concentrating less on appearance and more on writing. This is a tough one. In this option, you will find two very close sentences, But with the use of a qualifier, this is what determines which is the most suitable option. In option A, it says prehistory is defined as that long period between the appearance of the first person on Earth and the spread of writing. Spread of writing suggests that writing gained popularity. This was not expressed in the original, so this option is incorrect. B, prehistory is that extended time between the first appearance of human beings on Earth and the invention of writing. This seems very correct, but let's look at the other options just in case. C, the word prehistory is that extended time between the first appearance of human beings on this earth and the invention of writing. Now let's look at option B and option C closely, because this is also a very, very close option. The difference between the option B and option C is the specificity of the two words. We simply have prehistory, in inverted commas, is that extended time. In option C, we have the word prehistory, in inverted commas. Now that simple qualifier where we say the word, that definite pronoun the and word, means that we're not simply talking about prehistory, but rather the term that is used, prehistory. Now the word and the term can be synonymous. So in the original, we have the term prehistory, and in option C, we have the word prehistory. So the term and the word are synonymous phrases. In option B, however, we only have prehistory. This can create some ambiguity for those who are reading, because prehistory can relate to anything. But what we're looking at specifically is that term, and the option C specifies the word prehistory before it goes on. So option C is looking like the most correct answer. But just to be certain, let's look at option D. Option D, the term prehistory, now there's the term prehistory, covers that period of time after humans started. But then it goes seriously off when it says concentrating less on appearance. Now what this option is doing is looking at the meaning of the word appearance. It is taking that word appearance a little too literal. It does not mean your physical appearance, but rather human beings existing on Earth. So this option is changing the meaning of the word being used, appearance, and taking it a little too literal to mean your physical look. So let's look at the options. A is completely out because it talks about the spread of writing, which means the popularity of writing, which was not stated. B and C were very close in the runnings, but because of the word and because of the specificity of the term and the word to relate to prehistory, that means that option C is the best option. I'll leave number 5 with you. We'll just read it through, and you can find the option on your own. I will simply state the answer. Then I will explain why that answer is correct or incorrect, and you will tell me whether or not you thought the same. When I was little, my life was full of people anxious to tell me and Nancy stories, to help me clap to short rhymes, and to recite long poems for my entertainment. Because I have already expressed the importance of punctuations and how they change the meaning, I'm leaving this one to you. This is a very long sentence that is punctuated after a series of actions. I need to see whether or not you understand how punctuation changes the meaning of the sentence. And because you have already had that first introduction meeting, I'm hoping that you will remember what was said. Let's look at the options. A. As a little child, my life was full of anxious people telling me and Nancy stories and teaching me short rhymes and long poems for performance. B. When I was young, I had many caring people who were anxious to tell me and Nancy stories and show me how to tap out rhythms and recite rhymes and long poems. My childhood days were filled with people anxiously telling me Anansi stories and helping me to clap the short rhymes as well as to recite long poems for fun. D. Most of my childhood life was spent with people eager to tell me Anansi stories and help me to clap to short rhymes and longer poems for entertainment. Did you choose option C? Did you notice that in option A, anxious people there, the arrangement of that order is very different. Anxious in this sense, saying people are scared, not eager. B, did you realize that there was a difference in the word anxious as well? In option D, did you realize that that qualifier, most of my childhood, was not expressed in the original? It simply said, when I was little. Option C is your correct answer. If you got this answer, it means that you're understanding what is being expected of you. If you didn't get it correct, that's okay. You can rewatch the video and get a better understanding each time you try. Thank you for joining us for this session, and stay tuned for more sessions on how to answer your multiple choice sections. Thank you.